In this video we're going to look at the reaction between acids and bases. Before we start, it's important that we remind ourselves what acid and bases are. An acid is a substance that produces hydrogen ions when you add them to water. A common acid that you may have used in science lessons is hydrochloric acid. This is found as a gas at standard room temperatures, but when it's dissolved in water it dissociates to produce hydrogen and chlorine ions. As hydrogen ions are produced, it's an acid. A base is a substance that can neutralise acids, and examples include the insoluble metal hydroxides and insoluble metal oxides. An alkali is a specific type of base, and these are substances that can dissolve in water to produce hydroxide ions. Examples include soluble metal hydroxides such as lithium hydroxide, which dissociates in water to produce lithium ions and hydroxide ions. Now we've reviewed what makes an acid and a base, we're going to look at the reaction between them. Whenever an acid reacts with an alkali, it always produces a salt and water, and this is a general equation that you need to learn. This type of reaction is known as a neutralisation reaction, and this is why. If we take a common acid-alkali reaction, such as the reaction of hydrochloric acid, which dissociates to produce hydrogen and chlorine ions, with sodium hydroxide, an alkali that dissociates to produce sodium and hydroxide ions. The hydrogen and hydroxide ions combine together to produce water. This is a neutral substance, and the remaining ions, sodium and chlorine, join together to make the salt sodium chloride. The skill that you need to learn is how to name the salt, and hopefully you can see from that previous example how you might go about doing this. It's important that we focus on the acid and the alkali, as these will provide the name for the salt. The first part of the name comes from the positive ion in the base or alkali, and this is always the first part of the name. The second part comes from the acid used. If hydrochloric acid is used, then the salt will end with chloride. If nitric acid is produced, then it will end with nitrate. And if sulfuric acid is used, then the salt will end with sulfate. This works with our previous example. Hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide combine to produce water and the salt sodium chloride. Sulfuric acid and calcium hydroxide react together to produce calcium sulfate, the calcium coming from the alkali and the sulfate from the fact that we use sulfuric acid. Finally, another example, nitric acid and barium hydroxide will produce barium nitrate. Now that you can name the salt, you can use this skill to predict what will be produced in a range of examples. These are some of the general equations that you need to be able to apply in your chemistry exam. The one we've just looked at, acid plus alkali produces salt and water, as well as three others. Acid plus metal oxide produces salt and water, acid plus metal hydroxide produces salt and water, and acid plus metal carbonate produces salt, water and carbon dioxide.